Hello everyone, this is the SkyStars X120 Bolt. Featuring an F4 flight controller with an OSD, SkyStars branded, 1106 4500 kV, 20 amp 4-in-1 ESC, power switchable VTX up to 150 milliwatt, generic micro CCD camera with a 2.3mm lens, Gem Fan 2540 props, LEDs and a buzzer, XT30 for your battery connection. It weighs almost 85.5 grams. Bottom plate looks like 3mm, top plate's probably 1.5, camera mounting plates are also 1.5. The area for the flight stack looks like it's 22mm high. I'm getting 120mm motor post to motor post. Comes with two battery straps, one with the buckle and one without, an extra set of props, a few extra zip ties, some heat shrink, and a JSD connector with a lead. Mine came with an FR Sky XM, so I also got this. So those of you that have been around the channel for a while know that I don't tend to make outrageous claims. I try to just show you everything. I give you a little bit of my opinion, and then you make a choice for yourself. But I think if you're looking for a micro, you need to buy this one. I don't say that lightly. The performance of this is actually what I've been driving towards. You might remember several weeks ago I talked about us doing it wrong. And I was talking a little bit about frames, I was talking a little bit about motors, and I didn't really have a good way of, I think, verbalizing what it was I wanted to say without possibly either sounding wrong or just offending people in their own opinions. So I haven't done that video, and I still haven't come up with a good way to do it yet. But what I was looking at, one of the things I was looking at was, for micros, we keep going up to, 1106, 1107, 1108 motors, trying to get more and more thrust and performance out of these things. And my thought was, well, we need to reverse that. We need to go lighter, or we need to go lower kV and more cells. And that's what they've done here. We've got 1106 4500 kV motors. We don't even know if these motors are any good, but they perform really well on 4S. So I think if you're looking for something that looks like this, this is the one to get because it's my new favorite. Yes, it's my new favorite over the Aurora B-Fight Mini, which was a couple months ago's favorite, and the Hornet 120 from HGLRC. Those were my favorites, but they're not anymore. This guy has taken over, and as you may have noticed in the video that you've seen already, let me put this away, that we had some HD footage. So yes, I just stuck my Firefly micro action camera on top, ran a couple of zip ties through the holes that you see in front of you, and I flew it. And you do notice the weight a little bit, but not nearly as much as the times I've tried it on other machines. I do believe I tried it on the Mini Fight here and a few others, and I always thought I could feel that weight and I didn't like it. In this particular case, I think if I left it on here and I flew a few more packs, I would kind of forget it was up there. But I've got some footage that I'm hopefully rolling, and I'll show up there of some flights with this. I just think this one it's got a lot of things that are done right, that are done well. And one of the things I wanted to point out to you was they have a fairly unique cutout here for the camera, and that's so that you can have a real low stack, so you don't have to get real high, and you can still camera tilt. You remember a few videos ago we had the NADC or NADC or however you say it. The stack wasn't tall enough to where you could create any angle for your camera because it would hit either the top plate or the bottom plate. Well, they took care of that by cutting out the bottom, and that's not all that original. I would like to take a little bit of claim for that. Here, let me grab something. You might not know this one if you've joined the channel or seen the channel here. Oh, this is probably 14 or 15 months old, but this is kind of what we were looking at back in the day. 1306 motors, because there really weren't too many 1406 or 1407 motors. We just had the one mini flight controller, the Pico BLX, and we didn't have micro cameras back then, so we had to get a little bit ingenious, and I wanted something small. So with the help of Deadloop Nikita, we came up with this, and look at there. That's what he came up with in order to keep the stack slammed, because I wanted the stack that was down, and I also wanted to use a CCD camera, and this is what we had at the time. This is the Eagle, and this is a great camera. I really like this camera a lot. You're probably wondering why haven't we seen the Micro Eagle? I have one. I'm just not that impressed with it. So this is the design that Nikita came up with in order to do all these things, and they've taken that. I can't say they've taken that. They've implemented a similar design feature. Now, one thing about this is I do think because of the tooling and when you're cutting, you can't get this all that precise. So it is a little bit fiddly when you take off the top canopy and you pull these plates out, so you kind of have to fuss with them a little bit. You know, I've made the claim already that you need to get one, but let's go ahead and point out a few things that might be shortcomings. One is you don't have much camera protection. You see I've reversed my props. That gives us a little bit of an opportunity to kick ourselves out of centering those branches, but there's just not a lot there. So if you're flying at angle and you center something, your camera is likely to get smashed unless it's big enough to where it comes between these 2 points and your camera angle is enough to where you're flying really, really high and it just bounces off of there. Otherwise, your camera is going to get smoked. That's just the way it is. Also, on the bottom side here, you'll note we only have 3 screws per motor. That may bother you. It may not. The motors also have naked bottoms, so that may mean in your particular case you get more mud in the bottom. I actually prefer these because I think it's easier to get the mud out with a naked bottom than when they wear pants. And as far as the durability of these motors, long term, it's hard to say. That's always one thing about doing reviews. I can't fly something for a year and come back for a review just because no one would be interested by that point. Everybody's moved on. Really, if it gets down to 3 months, everybody's moved on anymore, right? They do get, with the tune that I have on here, they do get very, very warm. Most of the days I've been flying, it's been 95 to 97 degrees. So, and I've noticed that over the last few vehicles that the motor temperatures are quite warm. And it really doesn't bother me too much. I can still put my fingers on them. I just don't hold them on there a long time. So I put it on there for a little bit and I'm like, yeah, that's pretty warm. Your mileage may vary. They tout this of coming with a tune already on it, and it's very, very loose. It's flyable, but if you're wanting any sort of precision, you've got to tune it up. And then my tune is here on the screen. I did disable the first 2 notch filters to decrease our prop wash. You'll see that the D term is very, very low, and that's probably because these motors, you know, running at a high cell count, create a little bit of vibration. Your tune is relatively low compared to what you might experience in other cases as far as with the numerical values. But this is the tune that I worked up to, and I thought it worked out pretty well. Please note that I added all the blue zip ties that you see here that did not come with the machine. I did shove my little XM receiver right down here with a bit of phone tape, and then I just kind of squirreled the antenna extra back in here, and then brought this little out here. and that seems to be working fine with me. They did include some nice thick gauge wire for our battery lead, so that was a good point. The battery or the buzzer works just as you might expect, nice and loud, and the LEDs are bright, and they are programmed as well. I also added this zip tie out the back just to give our antenna a little bit of durability and make sure it stays in position, doesn't flop down into our props. Again, when I reverse the props, if you're not familiar with it, there's two things you need to do. You've got to go into the BL Heli app, so you've got to have a battery plugged in, you've got to have your USB connected, and your props off. And then you just change the rotation speed for the motor. So if it says normal, you switch it to reversed. If it says reversed, you switch it to normal. And then you put your props on to where the high side is on the outside. So we're looking at the nose here. See the high side on each side is going to rotate now this way. So it rotates in towards the sides. You want to make sure your high sides are coming into the sides. And people do this for a couple of reasons. Some people just like it. Some people do it because it keeps grass and stuff off your camera. Other people do it just because they seem to think that it creates extra stability. I'm not certain of that myself, but I did it because there isn't much camera protection, and I really like the machine, and I want to fly it a lot. I do wish the camera was a little bit better. You know, we've got these generic CCD cameras, and we have better cameras out now. You can go to one of the Cadix cameras. They're pretty nice. You could go to one of the Foxier cameras. They're pretty nice. But you're seeing a lot of models come out with these generic cameras. I think if you're a picky FPV person, in other words, you've got a certain image that you're looking for, this may be a good vehicle to you to model after for a build so that you can get your own camera, or just buy it and swap it out if you've got a camera that's already your favorite. It's kind of curious that they gave us two battery straps, but they chose to put the one without a buckle in the machine, and it is kind of a pain to get these things worked through, because you've got this little tiny carbon cut here, and then you've got to wiggle it through there. So you're probably going to end up having to loosen up your stack a little bit to get this bad boy in there. But that would be my preference, is that it just comes with this already mounted on the machine. It is nice they give us those extra props to work with, so if you bend them all up, you've got an extra set. But I would say get some more, because props are temporary, and if you get one of these, you're probably going to be flying it so much that you're going to need some extra props. Other shortcomings that you may see that it has. One, it doesn't have smart audio, so you can't change your VTX channel through the OSD. The camera, again, is fairly generic, but again, it does the job. It gives us a CCD sort of style of picture. I thought it was well within range of what we expect nowadays, so I don't really count that as a one-off, but you might. I do think it could be a bit lighter. Pretty much all the manufacturers do this the same way. They just run the wires under here, and then they solder them on. They don't cut them to length, so if we went directly here, up here, and it wouldn't be quite as neat, I guess, as far as pictures go, because that really hides the soldering away. It puts it on the bottom side here. But, you know, if you cut all these off a little bit shorter, we might lose 2 grams, maybe, thereabouts. This stack, I don't know if this is the same stack as I've been using or not. It's always hard to say. But this is a stack I've been building with lately. It's the IS100. It's a Speedix. I think the stack works just out fine. It does have pins, so you may or may not like that. That's one of the things that we just rarely see anymore in pretty much most of our micros, is soft mounting the flight stack, and this one too does not have soft mounting. We saw the Diatone, the 2-incher that I recently did, it had soft gummies through the flight controller, so hopefully one day that will just become the standard. But this machine performs so well that I had a really good time with it. I actually flew it probably longer than I had planned to before I do the review, and I did put the micro camera, that footage you've been watching, that's the Firefly micro action camera. You could, if you're not a fan of that one, try out this. This is the SQ12. There's also the SQ11, the SQ10. They're just little cameras, and these are 3D printed mounts. I'll try to locate them, but I'm not going to make any guarantees that I will, because oftentimes after I download them, it takes me too long to find them back on the Thingiverse site. I would search for Firefly action camera or SQ12 mount, and you'll probably find them on Thingiverse. Do note that with this particular one, this is just modeled after the one it comes with. It's plastic. You do have to take a lot of this material out in order to keep it out of your image. It's quite a struggle, actually, to keep the camera mount out of the image on this one. But if you're recording 720, that kind of seems to zoom you in, so therefore you have less of that can appear, or none that will appear at all. I've also done a review on this, and I'll put a link down in the description and a card up here if you want to see this review. I did not review this, but you will find all sorts of reviews on the internet about the SQ12. Just do a Google search for those, or a YouTube search for those, and you will find reviews on these. Personally, I think this one's pretty good. I think this one needs a camera lens mod, and I just haven't been interested enough in order to do that. So I've shown you the stock tune, I've shown you my tune, I've shown you a little HD footage carrying the Firefly action camera. We've talked a little bit about reversing our props. You can see some of my props are kind of nicked up, and that's just... I didn't actually crash this one a lot. I think I only crashed it probably 5 to 10 times. For some reason, this one, and maybe that's why I'm coming across so strongly, this one just kind of spoke to me. After I got it tuned, I think it flew pretty darn well, and it really suited me and what I was looking for. But I really enjoyed my time with this, and this is a favorite flyer of mine. So the next time I have giveaways, I'm going to be giving away the Mini Fight and probably the Hornet 120 as well as others. This really kind of does it all for me as far as a micro goes. It can carry the extra camera. I was flying around on a little 450 milliamp battery, something like this, and getting over 2.5 minutes flight time. That's pretty dang good. So you could easily go up to a 550 or 650 and even get more flight time. I like to stay light with my batteries because of the area I'm flying in. I need to be quick on the sticks, and I feel that once I start adding a bunch of grams with the battery to the bottom, that I have a little bit harder time flying the way I want to fly. But I think it's perfectly acceptable for you to, if you want to do a longer flight, throw on a little bit of heavier battery. There is a limit to that before your returns start to diminish, but you don't necessarily have to stay with a 450. So as far as that flight time goes, you can easily get 3 minutes if you're not getting 4 to 5 minutes with a 650 milliamp battery. Again, that's a 4S though. I did fly it on 3S, and it flies fine, and that's probably one of the things that makes it a good starter. So if you're trying to get into quads, say you're coming from a tiny hoop or something like that, and you want to get into a micro brushless, you can start flying this on 3S. You can lower your camera angle just like this is here. I lowered my camera angle in order to be able to try to match this, which I came close, but I don't think I got it quite right. So you just lower your camera angle down a little bit. You fly it around on 3S. It'll help you learn throttle control. It'll help you learn coordinating turns. It'll help you just learn to fly. And then you can, if you get to that point in your flying journey where you want to experience more performance, those big jumps and thrust, then you just slap on a 4S. You lower your values a little bit on your PID tune, and you go and fly and have some more fun. The PID tune that I've shown you so far is for 4S. I didn't take note of my 3S PID tunes. I flew like 3 or maybe even 6 packs on 3S, and I thought, oh, that's pretty good, but 4S is where it's at for me. So that's what I'm interested in. Now the last bit, if you've made it all the way here, I want to tell you about one last thing. Come back on Monday, June 25th. And I'm going to give one away. Yeah, I got another one right here in a box. I did take the cellophane off. We got the SkyStars stickers. We got the Gem Fan props. We got the battery strap. It's a FR Sky already on it. We've got the little baggie of stuff. And I have not opened this little baggie yet. But inside there is another one of those. Now, I left it inside the baggie kind of unfettered and untouched because I thought that might be something you would want to do as the winner. But if you want me to get it out as the winner and to test it to make sure that everything is working normally, I will surely do that. I can even bind it up to my receiver and take it for a short flight to make sure nothing's damaged. But all in all, I think you should just want to get it. You don't want me flying that thing around. Who knows what might happen? You know, I tend to crash. So on Monday, which should be tomorrow, we will come back and we will do that giveaway. It'll only be a giveaway, and I'm not going to require anybody to be a subscriber. I'm not going to require you to send me a message other than to just reach out to me via either Facebook or email. So, Monday, big day. I better get to editing to this. I appreciate your time, and thanks for watching.